What if I told you there's one belief you've had your entire life that's secretly sabotaging every relationship that you care about?
We're going live, baby.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
What's it do, baby? What it do? Happy Friday, guys. It is Frame Friday, where we talk about, good Lord, that morning phlegm, where we talk about the most important part of being successful in life, but it's also the thing that most men skip because they're too focused on getting that sweet, sweet punani. The thing is, once you fix what's up here, getting that punani and actually inspiring that punani to want to stick around becomes infinitely easier. All right. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer, and I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. A lot of you guys have been here, right? You've been lied to. You've been told to be a nice guy, to always put her first, to avoid conflict and just be agreeable. But somehow none of this has worked. You're not respected. You're not desired. You're overlooked. And here's the bitter truth. There's a paradigm, an invisible belief system you didn't even know you had. And it's keeping you weak. It's keeping you compliant, and it's keeping you powerless in your relationships. But by the end of this episode, you'll know what that belief is, how it was installed into your mind without your consent, and how to finally break free. And no, watching this podcast alone won't fix it, but it is a good first step. So stick around to the end because the information can change your life. All right. Before we get into it, man, it's one of those mornings. I am tired as hell. I need so much coffee. Guys, before we get into it, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Please sound off in the comments if you guys are watching live right now. I like hearing from you. If you guys have questions, I can bring it up on the screen and you could be a part of the show. But do consider sending questions as a super chat. That helps support the show probably more than anything else. And then it also highlights it on the back end here, so I can see it better. So if you have a burning question or you just really want to get your name mentioned on the show, try sending that as a super chat. Let's get into it today, though. Let's talk about the invisible script that runs your love life. So what's a paradigm, right? Like that's what we're talking about. We're talking about paradigms today. If you guys don't know, I do have a book called The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence Psychology Paradigm. Explains all this kind of stuff. But a paradigm, it's kind of like a lens, like a contact lens you didn't even know you were wearing, right? Think of it like this. A fish can't describe water because it doesn't even know it's living in water. It's just been there its whole life, and that's just how the world is. It's all wet, right? Doesn't even know that outside of the water, there's all this other life out here, right? Well, that's what's happening with you and your relationships because you've been raised with certain paradigms, certain belief systems, and certain habits around those. And a lot of it started when you were a small child. When you're walking around, you're basically a walking subconscious mind. When you're a small child, you're a walking subconscious mind, right? You're just a sponge, and everything is absorbing into your subconscious. And until you get to a certain age when you develop a conscious mind, and then you develop a sort of a psychic barrier, we call that the ego protection layer, right? That protects your belief system, right? That's why if I say anything to you that challenges your paradigm, you want to argue with me about it. You have this instinctual need to be like, no, that's not true. you know, and that's the hard sell of the red pill, because a lot of what we talk about goes completely against mainstream relationship advice, and it goes against your paradigm. And so people that haven't had the wife goggles slapped off their face, they haven't been through a lot of pain and found themselves in the red pill looking for real answers because everything that they thought they believed about love and relationships was incorrect. That's when they find the space. That's why you can't red pill your friends, because they won't believe it. They're so locked in their paradigm that they will fight you on it. That's why when I put videos out, I get a lot of pushback and arguments from people, because red pill goes against those deeply held paradigms. But the thing is a lot of guys, they like, a lot of my content is trying to prevent that pain, but guys just have to go through that pain, So there's only so much I could do. But it's like you don't even know that you don't know. Right? You don't know what you don't know, and that's your paradigm. It's you're operating on these belief systems and habits, and you're getting bad results, and you don't know why, because you're doing everything right. Okay. A lot of us were raised to seek approval. We were taught to seek approval. We were taught to avoid conflict. We were taught to fear rejection. And so a lot of that kind of stuff keeps us small. It keeps us from being bold. It keeps us from taking actions in life that will actually bring us more success. A lot of that too. I mean, it's like the approval seeking behavior. We learned that from our moms. It's really bad if you were raised with a single mom, but it's equally bad if you were raised with a sort of a domineering mom and your dad was a nice guy who was avoiding conflicts all the time. Because then what you learned was happy wife, happy life. Just make mom happy. Do whatever it takes to make mom happy. And so all that kind of stuff is approval seeking behavior. And you're trying to keep people happy, right? The thing is, especially when it comes to women, the fastest way to make a woman unhappy is to give her everything she wants. It's counterintuitive. So we developed this nice guy syndrome. And that term, nice guy syndrome, was coined by Dr. Robert Glover in his book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. Phenomenal book. I mention his No More Mr. Nice Guy probably in all my books. It was that influential on me. But nice guys, we tend to be people pleasers. We don't set the tone. We don't lead. We always defer to our spouses or our girlfriends. Because we're trying to make them happy, right? If I make the wrong decision, she's going to be unhappy, and then there's going to be an argument, and I want to avoid conflict. Do you see where this is going? I know this is touching a nerve with some of you guys because you do this, right? I've done this. I know exactly what this is like because I'm a recovering nice guy. Okay, but there's consequences. There's consequences to this behavior. You get a lack of respect. You get a lack of attraction. And I'm not talking about physical attraction, okay? When we talk about attraction, we're talking about two separate things, okay? Be attractive, don't be unattractive, right? Be attractive is your physical appearance, wearing clothes that fit, putting nice smelling cologne on, nice haircuts, or if you're balding, just shave that shit, right? We're past the 8-minute mark. I can say that. Okay, but don't be unattractive is how you show up, your actions in life, your demeanor. Do you have emotional control? Or do you playfully banter with your girl? Are you cocky funny? Like that kind of stuff is attractive behavior, but most of us don't have that. And so we lose that attraction because we're seeking approval. We're avoiding conflict. We have a fear of rejection. We don't, we walk on eggshells hoping not to piss off our access to sex. Right? But that's unattractive behavior. Okay. And there's a loss of polarity in a relationship when you do that kind of stuff too. When we talk about polarity, we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, right? But or you can, if you don't want to, be all woo-woo about it, masculine and feminine actions or traits or roles. Okay, however you want to say it. Okay, it doesn't really matter. But they're meant to complement each other. Men and women are meant to complement each other. Our differences are meant to complement each other, right? But if you are doing a lot of approval seeking, that kind of stuff, that's actually, you're acting more feminine when you do that. You're acting more like a woman, and women don't typically want to date other women, you see? So there's a loss of polarity there. You get me? And a lot of the times when you're acting in your feminine, that forces her to act in her masculine, which is unnatural to her. And then she resents you for it. She resents you for pushing her into her masculine. You understand? But you can't see all this stuff. You can't see all this stuff because of your internalized social programming and cultural scripts. You watch any kind of TV show, any kind of romantic comedy, any kind of, I don't know, any kind of, like, you listen to any kind of mainstream relationship advice, it sort of enforces this type of ineffective behavior. And that's why when you read, when I talk to guys and I say, well, what have you tried to turn your relationship around? They say, I've tried everything, right? But they probably do believe they've tried literally everything. They've read all the mainstream relationship books and taken the mainstream relationship advice, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work because you're just working within the paradigm that you already have. And you're not getting success with that paradigm. Okay, so now you need to seek answers elsewhere, and that's usually when people find the red pill, right? Is they've gotten to a place, they've gotten to such a low point, they're in so much pain, and they're like, what, all this stuff I'm doing isn't working, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It's because all the advice that you're taking sounds good. And the reason why it sounds good is because it works hand in hand with the paradigm that you've been programmed with. That doesn't work. So then you need to challenge that. That's where red pill advice comes in, because we're like, look, it doesn't work that way. It works this way, right? We give you the red pill. You wake up in the real world and it's like, oh crap, I was a fucking battery the whole time. It's the Matrix reference if you don't understand, but you don't understand it because right now you're operating in the blue pilled world, right? You're operating within the Matrix, and you need to actually get out of it to see how things really operate. Okay. So now that you see the script, now that you understand why things aren't working for you because of this paradigm that you've been programmed with, let me show you what it's doing to your heart and to your relationships. Before we go into that, though, guys, do follow me on social media. I'm going to go on I'm planning on really doing an experiment over the next month or two on really trying to build up my X account, right? I've got this sneaking feeling that TikTok's basically dead now. Instagram and Facebook, they are so wonky with me. I don't even know what's going on with those guys. Like I might say one thing, it pisses them off. I end up in a weird shadow ban. They stop monetizing me for months at a time. And I'm like, now I'm starting to research more about X, and it's like all these changes that Elon's doing. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go hard on X. I'm going to go hard on X. So start following me on X. The links are in the description for that. Guys, get my free ebook, She's Made You Weak. I think I have a link for that in the description. I might have replaced it though with the workshop that I'm doing, with the workshop that I'm doing this week. Which let me just talk about that for a minute. Let me talk about that for a minute. Let me turn that off. Okay. Does this sound familiar? Let me ask you this. Does this sound familiar? You try to kiss your wife. She turns away. You reach out at night. She pretends to be asleep. The bedroom's not just cold, it's dead. And every time you bring it up, she gets more distant. You've talked, you've tried, you've been patient, you've been supportive, but nothing's working. And now you're living in silent rejection, wondering if she even wants you anymore. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time, I'm running a 60-minute live workshop. It might go longer than 60 minutes, but it's going to be a live workshop to fix exactly that. It's going to be real tactics to rebuild desire and sexual tension fast. What we talk about tomorrow, you can start using tomorrow night on your girl, and you're going to start seeing differences. Okay. It's only $97. Sign-ups close tonight at midnight. Okay. If you've been living under a rock and you haven't been seeing my social media, I've been talking about it all week. Okay. So don't be like, oh, what do you mean it closed at midnight? You're just telling me about, no, I've been talking about it all week. Okay. Links in the chat here to sign up for that. But sign-ups close tonight at midnight Eastern, midnight Eastern. Okay. So if you're in Colorado, that's going to be 10 p.m. All right. If you are in California, signups close at 9 p.m. Okay. But it's closing tonight at midnight. Limited spots. All right. Don't miss it. Click the link. Okay. I dropped it in the chat. It's also in the description if you want to get in there. All right. All right. Let's talk about the agony of playing small. Oh man, I got here. Tell a personal story of doing everything right, still ended up broken, ignored, or cheated on. Well, geez, that sounds like my story. If you guys are new to the podcast, you just found me. I don't know, maybe you saw me lurking in a dead bedroom forum, and you saw me commenting on someone's post, and you're like, "Oh, who's this Paul Bauer guy?" And you Google me, and you ended up here. All right, let me tell you my Batman origin story. Okay, I was married for 14 years. I got married at 20 years old. I wasn't even old enough to drink alcohol at my reception, right? But I was always that guy that was like sniper dating. So like the first girl that was nice to me, I would go all in and try to push for a relationship and try to be in a relationship and try to make her my girlfriend. And then once she was my girlfriend, man, she was going to be my wife, man. Like every girl that I dated in high school for like more than a month, I was like, I'm going to marry this girl, right? I had two like major relationships when I was in high school, and I was going to marry both those chicks. The second one was crazy, man. She we broke up twice, right? The first time we broke up, she stopped that by trying to convince me that she was pregnant, right? And then I was like, oh, well, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to man up and, I'm going to marry you and all this shit, right? Turns out she wasn't pregnant. And she was lying. She was just doing that to manipulate me back into the relationship. And then a couple months later, I went to go break up, and then she pulled that same shit again. And I was like, look, I'll pay for it, but we're not going to be a thing. And then magically she wasn't pregnant, right? Anyway, fast forward, I joined the U.S. Navy when I was 18. 2 years into that enlistment, I went home on leave. I met my now ex-wife through mutual friends, and we ended up in this long-distance relationship because she was out here in Colorado, and I was in San Diego, stationed at 32nd Street Naval Station. I was on the USS Shiloh. And so we had this long-distance relationship for about a year before I convinced her to move in with me. And so we were together for about 3 months in person before we eloped, right? And the big reason why we eloped was that hold on, I'm getting a beer club guys pinging in the chat, and I forgot to close the chat. Why are you guys talking on the chat? Watch the fucking live stream. Okay, anyway. Love those guys. So I get married. We eloped. The reason why was because I was getting ready to go on a 3-month training exercise called RIMPAC. And then that was off the coast of Hawaii. Come back for a month, and then I was going to be gone on a WestPAC, which is a full deployment in the Middle East for 6 months. So for 9 months of that first year, I was gone, but I wanted to make sure that she was taken care of because I'm a provider. That's what you do. A man provides. So I was like, I want to make sure she's taken care of. I want to make sure she has health insurance. I want to make sure she can live while I'm not there. And that was my duty as a man, take care of this woman. And so we eloped. And then a year later, we had an official wedding for the family. And that's where, you know, that was like right before my 21st birthday. And so I couldn't even drink alcohol at my wedding reception, right? But I was that guy. I was running for that white picket fence. And our relationship was pretty good for the first, I would say, 7 years. And we have 2 wonderful children. My daughter, she's 20. She's off at college. My son just turned 16. We just bought his first car this last weekend. It's a shit box, but that's what a teenager's first car is supposed to be. So anyway, last half of that marriage was fucking miserable. But I thought I was doing everything right. I would defer to her. I would ask her what she wants to eat. We would always, whatever made her happy, or at least what I thought would make her happy. That's what we would do. I would do her honey-do lists. When I first got promoted, I used to be a help desk guy. When I first got promoted to help desk, because I was an IT intern. When I first got promoted to help desk, I call her up. I was so excited. Like, babe, I just got promoted. I've been working on this promotion for years. Isn't that great? And she's like, can I quit my job now? Like that was her reaction to that, right? Can I quit my job now? Because she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. What she really wanted, as you could probably guess by saying, hey, can I quit my job now? Is that she just wanted early retirement. She just didn't want to work anymore. Okay. All this kind of stuff I didn't see in the beginning because I had the rose-colored glasses. I was too busy trying to push for that white picket fence. I overlooked all these red flags. She was like that from the beginning, though. I just chose to ignore it because, a love or whatever, right? I was Twitter-pated. I was madly in love. She was my soulmate, bro. Okay? But I did all this kind of stuff and ended up in a miserable relationship for the last half of that marriage, right? So I was married for 14 years. The last half of it, I was miserable. She was a miserable person to be around. She was always nagging, always bitching, always moaning. I didn't know how to handle any of that stuff, so I'd lose my shit at her all the time. We'd always end up in these big fights and stuff. And luckily for me, she ended up filing for divorce, okay? Then the same thing happened. 11 months later, I ended up in my relationship with Red Pill Chick. And Red Pill Chick, that relationship lasted 4.5 years. But the first 2 years, I went right back into the same complacent husband mode and stopped doing the attractive stuff like almost immediately. So that relationship didn't even last that long because I immediately went back to the same shit that I was doing in my marriage. And she ended up cheating on me at the end, right? But I was trying to make her happy all the time. She was my soulmate, all this kind of shit, right? I thought I was doing everything right. I still ended up being dumped. It still ended up getting walked all over. I still got cheated on, okay? The thing is, man, that was what really slapped those wife goggles off my face after the Red Pill Chick thing, right? I felt betrayed. I was confused. I didn't understand what the fuck I was doing wrong. I thought I was doing everything right. I thought I was doing everything right. I did everything my dad did. He and my mom are still together. In hindsight, I look at it now and I'm like, well, geez, yeah, my parents are miserable. My dad's miserable. No wonder things I was doing wasn't working, right? I see it all the time too. I see it in the comment section when anyone puts out a marriage video, like all the miserable married guys or all the broken divorced guys just leave the shittiest comments because they were operating in this paradigm that doesn't work and they're pissed about it, right? They're not doing anything about it. They're not trying to figure out what does work, right? It just creates even more anger and resentment. And those repeated failures, they create a passive approval-seeking identity. You're like, oh, let me just go harder on the nice guy stuff. I'm just not like, and that's what the blue pill advice is. That's what like the Christian relationship advice is, right? You're not being a servant leader enough. Now, I do talk about setting the tone and leading relationships, not the same. It's not the same. I'm not talking about being a fucking servant leader. and let yourself be walked all over and disrespected, right? But that's their advice, right? You just got to be nicer. You're just not nice enough. I'm being nice as fuck, right? Or at least I think I'm being nice as fuck. What I'm doing is a bunch of covert contract stuff where I'm doing stuff to get stuff. And then when I don't get that stuff, it builds resentment, right? But deep down, you know that men and women are supposed to be together. We are better together than we are apart, right? So why the fuck doesn't this work? Like everything that we've been told doesn't work. Why is that? The thing is that women, they don't want a man who needs their permission to be strong. They don't need a man, they don't want a man that needs their approval all the time. They don't want a man that gets walked all over. And they'll try to walk all over you, hoping that you won't let them. And it's so counterintuitive. Like, it doesn't make sense, right? She says she wants X. So I should, like, logically, as a man, if I give her X, she should be happy. That's not how women operate, though. Women operate from emotion, not logic, right? That's why it's so frustrating for guys, because we're like, it doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense when you realize that they're not thinking the same way that you think, right? It's about how you make them feel. So let's talk about how to fix this. And I'm going to be real, okay? You can't do this alone. You can't do this if you don't have the tools, if you don't have the knowledge, if you don't, like I said before, you don't know what you don't know, okay? So how do you learn that stuff? We got to learn it from someone else, right? Great place to do that is in my beer club, right? Not that, beer club. The great place to do that is a beer club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. We're going to be changing the name. It's confusing to a lot of people. They're like, beer club? I don't drink. You don't have to drink in beer club, okay? So I hate having to say that. So we're changing the name. We're going to change the name next week. Listen for that. If you want to get in the group and be an OG beer club brother, get in now, because we're going to change the name of the group. I'm going to announce that stuff on Monday. But get in the group now. It's a perfect place to swap notes with guys who have been where you've been, who have been through the shit you're going through right now, and they've come out better on the other side, and they've learned a few things, right? Man, guys are swapping notes in there all the time. We've got guys at all different levels in there. We got guys that are, elite 3% brother status in the group, right? Giving excellent advice. Some of the guys are my legit 3% brothers from the original 3% man group that I this podcast grew out of, right? So a few of those brothers are in there. They know their shit. They know their shit. They're having success. Okay. Get in there, pick their brains, right? Be like, man, I tried this and this. Why isn't it working? They'll explain it to you. Okay. Get in there. You will go further faster in a group than you'll do it on your own. Okay. And then if you guys want to work with me one-on-one, you can book a free call. Go to call.fixdadbedrooms.com. We'll talk about your specific situation. If I can help you, I'll show you what that looks like. If I can't, I'll at least point you in the right direction. If you've been hesitant, if you've been thinking about, man, I think I do need a coach, right? I went to counseling. Counseling doesn't fucking work, right? Because it's a lot of the same blue-pilled advice that you'll get everywhere else. And it just doesn't work. It focuses on communication. It doesn't focus on polarity and attraction. Right. So if you've been thinking about working with me, book a call. All right. But if you're more like, I just don't know if this will work for me, then get in the workshop. Okay. Get in the workshop. That's why I'm doing the workshop. Okay. I'm trying to sort of, a lot of people ask for testimonials. I got those. Okay. But the thing is that it reminds me of the movie Tommy Boy. Right? Where he goes, look, I can, he's like, look, your box doesn't have a guarantee on it. Okay. It needs to have a guarantee on the box. He's like, look, I can shit in a box and guarantee it for you. Right? The guarantees don't mean fucking anything. Results mean something. Okay. So get in the workshop tomorrow. It's live. Okay. We're going to do it together. You can ask questions in the chat. Each exercise will be about 5 minutes. Okay, I'll ask you to share what you guys come up with. Like, we're going to be working together, all right? It's not me just standing and delivering. We're actually going to do something that you'll be able to use tomorrow, and you'll see that the shit that I talk about works. Okay. When you see it works, book a fucking call with me. Okay. Because I teach what works, right? Not just theory. I teach what I live. I live this shit. All right. All right. Let's talk about the new frame that attracts leads and commands respect. What does a new paradigm look like? Imagine this. Okay. Imagine this. You start working with me. You read Psychology Paradigm. You listen to this on audio 10 to 15 times. You start really reprogramming that subconscious paradigm. Okay. What you'll start noticing is that you have more grounded self-worth. You have more personal authority, and you don't need external validation anymore. You don't need it. You already know you're fucking king shit. You validate yourself. You get that internal validation, a sense of accomplishment, right? This is why men need a mission. Men need a mission, because when you're working towards goals, when you start achieving those goals, or at least, the small little things along the way, when you start making these achievements along the way, those achievements by themselves are your validation, right? It feels good to achieve something that you're working towards. That comes from within. Like, you did a good job. You achieved this goal. Fuck yeah. You don't need anyone else to tell you you're doing a good job, right? That's what working on this stuff does for you. You don't need women to tell you you're doing a good job. You don't need that external validation from women. I was just talking to one of my other 3% brothers. I'm not going to name his name, but he just broke up with this girl that he's been with for the last couple of years. He recognized that there were some incompatibilities, and he just couldn't overlook him anymore and decided to cut her loose, right? But one of the things that he was talking about is that he realized that a lot of the things that he was looking for in relationships is a lot of that sort of comfort, love shit that he was getting from his mother, right? A lot of that is our blue pill programming. That's a blue pill paradigms at work. All the attachment theory stuff is all blue pill paradigm shit. Right? But when you fix that up here, you become more self-validating. You realize you don't need anybody else to validate you. It's nice to have a girl in your life, but you don't need her, right? She's not your world, right? You're working on your mission in life, and she's along for the ride. You start developing that sort of paradigm. You start noticing that relationships now become effortless because it's more natural with how we're programmed evolutionarily. Evolutionarily, we were designed a certain way, and you start operating in that paradigm, everything else becomes effortless. Okay. So you got to rewrite that script. You got to replace that weakness with more of a dominant masculine presence. Well, how do you do that? Well, that's exactly what this book is about, right? That's what Psychology Paradigm's about. It's all about rewiring what's up here to have more successful relationships, be more successful in all areas of your life. That's why at the beginning of the show, I talk about how I help men level up and get better with women. And when you do that, all the traits that women like about guys, it's because those traits help you out in all other areas of your life, right? You don't just set the tone and lead in your relationships. You start setting the tone and leading at work, in your jobs, right? In your personal life with yourself and getting physically fit and taking care of yourself. All those types of things. Women like that kind of stuff. Okay. Because it's the traits that they like. It's not like, it's funny because a lot of people are like, women only care about money. It's not the money itself necessarily that they like. It's your ability to acquire resources. Well, your ability to acquire resources requires a certain set of skills, right? You've got to be personable. You've got to be able to work with other people. You've got to have a little bit of emotional control. You've got to be able to set the tone and lead. A great book I highly recommend, and I talk about it in Psychology Paradigm, is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Jocko Willink talks about leading up and down the chain of command. because he was a Navy SEAL, right? So at work, you might not be the boss, but if you set the tone and lead in all areas of your life, you take ownership for everything in your life, you can lead up the chain of command. You can steer your boss in a better direction. You know, that's why these types of skills help you in all areas of your life. And when you can do that, you get paid better. You know what I mean? Everything starts getting better. I've two of my dead bedroom clients, by the end of the 3 months we were working with, they ended up getting significant raises in work. You know, I had one guy, he got a $30,000 a year raise after working with me. So just working with me alone. God, what is that? Like the price tag is more than a 10x increase in what he paid for, right? Just in that getting a raise at work. And it was just from the stuff I was teaching him. You see, it's not just about dead bedrooms. It's not just about dead bedrooms. There's some daily practices that you can do. All right. And I talk about them all in this book, right? But reframing, we talk about reframing a lot on the podcast, but what is reframing? It's just looking at things from a different point of view. That's all it is. I talked about it on Wednesday's episode. We were talking about breakups. You know, a lot of people look at breakups like it's a failure. You can look at it that way. That's one point of view. A different point of view, reframing it as a learning opportunity. Like it was a learning experience. I learned what not to do in a relationship. Okay. That's reframing. You could do that with a lot of things in your life. And I specifically talk about it in the book as there's no such thing as like winning and losing, right? It's winning and learning. That's a reframe. Like a lot of people beat themselves up when they don't achieve a certain goal. Instead of beating yourself up over it, reframe that and look at it like, what did I learn from that? Right? Practice stoicism. Stoicism isn't emotional suppression. It's emotional control, learning a little bit of learning how to control those emotions, right? A lot of what stoicism really is it's about worrying about what you can control and not worrying about what you can't control. The biggest like hateful comments I get on social media are usually from guys that are pissed off at women, talking about how women need to change, right? Women need to fix X, Y, and Z. Women's natural psychology and like how they show up in the world, that's not good for me. I need them to change. Okay. You can't change other people. Okay. You can't force them to act a certain way, especially women. You can't make women act against their nature. It's not going to happen. You have no control over that, but you do have control of how you respond to women and how you show up in relationships. That's stoicism. And that is going to, if you embrace that, that's going to help you in your relationships better. Right? What we're really talking about here is building frame, right? Building a mental frame and how you see the world. You know, when we talk about frame, Ryan Stone, in Ryan Stone's book, Frame, Praxeology Volume 1, Frame by Ryan Stone, he talks about frame being built up of 3 pillars, right? Although in the way he wrote it in the book, he said 4 pillars, right? But it's not. It's actually a tetrahedron. He even says it's a tetrahedron in the book, but the way he's got the chapters laid out, it's 4 pillars, right? But it's a tetrahedron. Tetrahedron is essentially a pyramid, or you could think of it like a tripod, right? But it's made up of your intellectual, your physical, and your emotional pillars, and those come together and form your vision, right? What do you want in this world? Most guys never sit down and think about what they want. They're always, a lot of guys are doing everything for everybody else. That's what Monday's episode is going to be about. We'll talk about that later, but it's all about why not putting yourself first actually hurts you in relationships. So you have to build this mental frame where you're working towards your vision on how you want your life and your relationships to be. And people that don't fit into that vision, well, they can kick rocks, right? But you'll find that the right people will gravitate towards you, and the right people will be aligned with that vision when you operate from this new paradigm. And your relationships are going to be better, right? You're going to restore that natural polarity that creates natural attraction. You're going to have more respect. You're not going to let people walk all over you. You're going to be more assertive, more decisive. And that's going to make you more attractive to your wife, your girlfriend, or even if you're single right now, you're going to be more of an attractive man to other women, to new prospects, new perspective. I call them contenders, right? Perspective contenders, right? And they've got to earn their spot in your life. And you're going to have that frame when you're out dating. You're going to be the buyer, not the seller. This transformation doesn't happen though just by watching a podcast or reading a few tweets, right? You need structure. You need a strategy, right? That's what my book gives you, right? Psychology Paradigm gives you that. And if you want accountability and precision, I work one-on-one with men who are ready to become unshakable. Okay. Remember the workshops tomorrow. I'll drop a link for that again. The workshops tomorrow. If you've been thinking about working with me, you're just not sure about it, the workshop's a good place to start. All right. And I know what you're saying. You're probably saying, I'll figure it out on my own, right? How long have you been saying that though? How long have you been saying I'll figure this out on my own? Right? It's time to stop spinning those wheels, right? Do something about it. Do something about it. Even if you just get the book and start listening to the audiobook on repeat, that's a great place to start. All right. The paradigm that's been keeping you weak doesn't have to own you anymore, right? But knowing the truth isn't enough, right? You have to act on it. You have to take some action. This episode was the wake-up call. What you do next, that's up to you, man. It's up to you. All right. What do we got here? We got a bunch of people in the chat. We'll hit these guys and we'll wrap up. Nurse Chick says, good morning, gentlemen. You guys, Nurse Chick gets this here.
So naughty.
Oh.
I'm going to come.
Yes. That's happening. You know what's going on. Oh, Erkin says, good day, Nurse Chicken, folks. Seems like Paul has eaten something chili? What are you talking about? Oh, Johnny Race, you can't see unless you know this. Yes, true. It doesn't work because you're doing what someone else believes, not what you believe. And Johnny says, my wife wants it all the time. She has done some things against her relationship, and now she doesn't want to lose me. But if I give in, she'll go back to the reason we started looking the other way. Yeah, you can't give in, man. Can't give in. I noticed that once the kids came into this picture, that's when the marriage really started to die. That's so common for a lot of guys. A lot of guys, when they book a call with me, it's almost always it's right after they've had some kids. They had some kids, and now all of a sudden, wife is no longer in sexy girlfriend type mentality. Now she's in mother hen type mentality, and she puts the kids first. I will scream this from the mountaintops. If you or your wife put your kids first, you're going to fucking kill your marriage. It's absolutely going to kill the marriage. You guys need to put the relationship first. Okay. Well, you as the man, you need to put yourself and your mission first. Okay. But you guys, the relationship has to be a priority. Okay. And for your wife, she needs, because it's Breitfeld's law, right? Relationships are the woman's job. Your job is to be a man worth keeping. It's her job to keep the relationship going. Okay. But for you, the relationship does need to be a priority. Okay. But you guys need to be there for each other first. And then the kids will see what a loving relationship looks like. and they'll sort themselves out. Okay. But if you put the kids first and you make the kids a priority and it's all about the kids and kids, the sex dies, the relationship dies. Next thing you know, you're divorced, right? Now, some people will wait until the kids are out of the house and then fucking divorce. But still, it's because they put the kids first. Okay. Stop that shit. Put your relationship first. The kids will sort themselves out. Okay. God made females to hurt men as much as possible. This is how he shows he loves you. The fuck? CJ, you got some weird ideas, man. Definitely recommend that book. Thank you. Thank you, Huds. Huds, when are you coming out with an essential skills book? When are you coming out with an essential skills book, man? You've helped almost all of us on our essential skills books, but like, when are you putting out a book, man? All right. Oh, the voice sounds like I have eaten chili. That's what my voice sounds like when I eat chili. Okay. I do like chili. I haven't had chili in at least a week though. All right, guys. That's all we got. Tune into the podcast on Monday. We will be talking about the dangers of prioritizing others over yourself in love. You know, it's funny. If you guys want to know where I get my titles, I'm using this new tool called vidIQ, and vidIQ suggests titles for YouTube that will get more clicks, right? Like, so if you're looking at Monday's episode going, did Paul put the L word in the fucking, yeah. Oh yeah. It's going to get more clicks though, bro. Okay. There's a method, to the madness. We'll be talking about putting your wife and children first, and how that's a terrible mistake. Okay. And it's one that most men make every day, and they eventually have to learn the hard way, right? By fucking divorce, or the relationship's dying and now they're trying to fix it or whatever. Okay. So we'll talk about all that kind of stuff on Monday. Do tune into that. Guys, I hope to see you guys tomorrow live in the workshop. It's going to be more intimate, right? This is I'm sort of standing and delivering. It's a podcast. After I'm done with this, I'm going to download it and put it on Spotify and Apple, and people are going to listen to it in their cars and whatever. But tomorrow it's going to be interactive, right? I want you guys to show up. There's a downloadable workbook. We're going to do the workbook together. All right. Don't do the workbook ahead of time. We want to do it together. All right. And if you do it ahead of time, you're going to be waiting around for long periods of time. Okay. So don't do that. Let's do it tomorrow. Do it together. We'll share what we come up with, all that kind of stuff. You guys can learn from the other people there. Right. It's going to be fun. It's going to be well worth the money. Everything that we're going to do tomorrow, you can start doing tomorrow night on your girl and start seeing results tomorrow. Okay. Do that. The link's there in the chat. It's also in the description. Other than that, guys, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thanks for everyone that sounded off in the live chat. I appreciate you guys. I didn't get any super chats today, but that's okay, because if you guys don't send a super chat, I don't get demonetized on YouTube. Because whenever I do the shaking booty video or the shaking tatas video, like YouTube's like, oh, that's adult content, and they shut me down. Guys, follow me on social media. I'm trying to build up my X account, so follow me on X if you don't follow me there already. Let's see here. Guys, get in Beer Club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. You can get all my books on Amazon or Audible. Just search for Paul Bauer under books, and you'll find all my books. My latest book, Forget That Bitch, A Red Pill Guide to Breakups, is coming out June 6th. So get that when it comes out. You'll hear more about it in the upcoming days. You're probably already seeing some of it on social media. I'm putting that awareness out now. You can pre-order the Kindle edition, everything right now. And then, guys, stop fucking around, all right? Like, let's work together. Book a call. Go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. All right, that's all we got. Oh, God damn it, CW. Let's not forget to demonetize Paul. And he is a Beer Club brother, so he automatically gets bumped up to a demonetizing video. Let's go for the gusto. Let's see some titties.
Thank you for the super chats. Movies bouncing, can't stop that. From the east to the west, you are the best. Keep those chats coming in, let's do it all again.
Bless their hearts. All right, guys, we'll see you hopefully on the workshop tomorrow. If not, If not, we will see you guys on Monday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.